14th, Public Works Committee. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chairman Weggie.
Here.
Alderwoman Tice, absent. Alderman Gould.
Here.
Alderman Erger.
Here. All right, move on to agenda approval. Any issues with the agenda? Seeing none, we'll approve by acclamation. Citizen comment?
No one online.
All right, we'll move in the reports of the committee chair. It's good to hear that our tornado sirens are working well today, so that's good stuff. But I do actually have an item that I wanted to bring back and get it reprioritized. So if you look in board docs under my report, there's something. And Sullivan, you're probably not familiar with this, but just a little bit of background. So I don't know, about 3 years ago, we did kind of an assessment of the islands of several cul-de-sacs and kind of the condition they were in and some of the issues they had. And one of the worst is Mary Kate Circle. And so there's 2 pictures I took today and a picture I took a couple days ago when it was dry. Yeah, alder dog for scale, always. And so, you know, we came up with this kind of plan as, you know, what's happening there is the cars are parking outside and there's not enough room. And so when the Amazon trucks and the delivery trucks come around, they're cutting across the circle. And it's just kind of a muddy mess. And so we've been talking about it for a couple of years. The plan was that, you know, whenever we could fit it into Public Works, you know, priority stack, we would get it. But it's been a long time, and I think it's just never going to become a priority. So the thought here was we wanted to try this approach where we put the pavers in that allow the grass to grow, but the cars can drive over it. So it wouldn't be muddy, but hopefully it would still be grass. I view it as an embarrassment. I mean, we wouldn't let a resident have a yard that looked like this. I mean, there's lots of new families that live right around there, and I wouldn't want my kids out there because they're going to get muddy every day, all year round. And so what I'm proposing today, and why I wanted to bring it up, is I think we should go ahead and go out and get a quote of what it would cost to just have an outside company come in and do that, see what that would cost, just because I think our Public Works team is just too busy. There's always something that is a higher priority, and they just can't get to it. And also I included, so I did go around and talk to all the residents, and this is the flyer I left on there, and that was November 21. So when I left that, so they're kind of like, what are we going to do?
Is this picture you have here pretty much how it looks all the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I would say it's pretty good right now because it's been really, really dry. So you can see one picture with the dog, it's dry. And then I took a picture after the rain today. So especially in the winter, after it starts to melt and it's just waterlogged ground, and when it rains a lot, it's bad. It's just really bad.
Surprised we haven't had any issues with the fire hydrant there. I mean, they go right
They go
up
really
to
close to it, don't they?
I mean, I know that I remember when we talked about this, and I mean, where are we with Public Works Department? Dan, do you have any updates on, because we were looking at several different solutions.
Right.
And this was one of them. I mean,
yeah, we can still try to do the pavers. The challenge is you cannot pave that whole thing because there's water in there. They just did the water main maybe a year or so ago.
yeah, but I thought we talked about like 3 feet,
Yeah.
you know.
If you wanted concrete, we could do that easily in-house because we do concrete work all the time. But I think you wanted some porosity to it. Because at one time we considered rubberway, which was the colored, you know, porous concrete that we do for sidewalks because it percolates just like anything else. The grass pavers, I don't know how you're going to keep grass growing on there when people drive over it. That's the challenge I saw with that.
Yeah.
When I looked at it before the meeting, yeah, you could run an edge maybe 3 feet in. You've got the hydrant there. If they ever have to work on a hydrant, it's just going to tear whatever out. But I wouldn't think they would need to just because that was recently done. And then there is a manhole lid there too, so I can't help but believe MSD has something that runs to serve all those homes in the cul-de-sac. So whatever you would do, I would think it would need to be cheap, just in case a utility gets in there and has to tear into it. You're just wasting money otherwise.
Yeah, and I'm not, you know, we talked about the pavers. I don't care what it is. It's just got to be something. Yeah, it's just, it's not good, you know.
I mean, we'd still have bags of rubberway. I don't know if you want to try that.
Can you drive over that stuff?
You can, it'll flex. It won't rut up like this, but if it's something heavy over and over, then it might deflect down, just like I think the paver's good too over time, but
Yeah.
I guess whatever we do, we can just try it and see what it does. It can't be any worse than
that was
dirt.
kind of the logic of this. Like, let's try it on one and see if it works, and if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. But and if it does work, then maybe that's a solution, because I think there were
Yeah.
like 8 different circles that have different varying problems throughout the city.
Yeah, 'cause- yeah,
I mean, the concern I have with the rubberway, which, if we have it in-house, we want to try it, it's great. The concern I have with that is once you make something look like a surface that somebody can drive on.
Then they will.
They
yeah.
will drive on it more often, or you might even have people starting to kind of pull over and park on it, which is not what we want. So I tend to like the idea of something that, like the pavers that allow grass to grow through, but keep it from getting, keeps the stability of the surface so that it's not muddy mess. But so I don't know. That's just a concern I have with the rubberway, is that it might just promote people to continue to drive on it, use it.
And the sidewalk would do the same thing.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
Right.
concrete it.
What, and I don't even know if this would work, but it would make sense to maybe reduce the radius of the cul-de-sac to where the fire, the fire hose is at, and then that would hopefully prevent cars from driving over it, because they'll have enough room to, get around that
So
circle.
you're saying increase the width of the street around
Right.
the cul-de-sac?
Right, yeah,
Yeah, we
essentially.
had looked at that too. If you had added a curb, we could do that, but you're cheating the street in, which then makes people park probably more cars, and I don't know. It would make it easier for the snow plows, because I know it's difficult for them to get around there due to the fact that people park in the street.
But yeah, bring it in, just to the fire hydrant, and just reduce the size of the overall circle.
And it's just the fire hydrant side that really is the issue, because the front lip is fine. Nobody drives over that.
Right, yeah, because there's a giant rock there I saw, and it looked like no one had disturbed it.
Well, I guess that's, so are trucks able to make that radius without driving on it, and they're just
I don't think so.
choosing? No?
No.
Okay.
Because the car is
Right.
parked on the outside, the outer
Okay.
diameter.
All right.
Think of a UPS truck with that car right there. There's no way.
So would we have the authority to widen the street at around the island there, and install a curb, one that actually doesn't just go up, but, one that's like a 6-inch curb,
6-inch vertical curb, you're saying?
a vertical
Yeah.
curb on that edge of that up to or not, I'm sure we can't go to the fire hydrant, but, I mean, do we have the ability to make that actual street there?
Yeah, everything there is in right of way, so to your point, you could create like, in terms of a circle, like a chord, it would be like a line cutting across, and you'd basically eliminate that little sliver, that little half moon or whatever you want to call it. You wouldn't have to necessarily shrink the whole circle
Right.
down in radius, but you could just take away that portion the way Alderman
The
Weggie
crescent-
described it.
The
Yeah.
crescent that gets driven on most of the time, you basically
Right.
you adopt that into the street, so then it becomes the ability for people to
Right,
make
it
that
creates a
turn.
wider turn radius.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think to your point, we need to solve it with some way, some measure. If staff has the ability to do, put in some concrete slabs and curbs and widen the street, and that would solve it, great. If we have to hire that out, then I'd say we put out a RFP for either pavers or, because that surface area is not significantly contributing to water runoff. So it's not like if that became fully, impervious, then it's not drastically modifying that.
Right.
We can price it both ways, because it may be, we always price concrete anyways for whether it's Handley Industrial or Eulalie, any slabs we do, so we could price it up, call the concrete batch plant that we normally get it from, and figure out what that quantity would cost. Curb forms, we do those all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can basically compare it to the pavers. If it's a wash, then maybe you still try the pavers just to see.
Yeah, because we have other areas of
Yeah.
town that have similar problems that
Right.
maybe, pavers would be more appropriate.
Right.
So, I think we should get, I guess I'll make a motion that we price out staff to, construct curves and widen the street to create a better turn radius, and get bids for the pavers, permeable pavers.
Second.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, my only concern is, when we have staff work it just, it seems like every week there's another,
Well,
oh
I
my
just-
gosh, we gotta jump
No,
on this.
I
and
agree with you. I mean, I thankfully was able to talk with the person that at first asked for the bike lanes and let her know that everything's done, and she was so excited. And so, well, it only took a year and a half, but.
Yep.
So but, if we can do it, then we just need to make it a priority.
Yep.
That's all.
Budget.
The street and sidewalk budget would be able to do the concrete. The pavers, I don't know because we've never priced them up. I mean, I don't know
Would
that it
that
would
be
be that.
supplies and material?
It could be. Yeah, I don't know that they'd be that expensive. When we looked at them before, it wasn't much per square foot. And then there's the rock underneath it,
So you can absorb this within your current budget?
Yeah, and I would think that Eric's group would figure out like what to plant in there, because you don't necessarily have to put dirt and grass. You could put plants of some sort is what I saw online, but then it's one more maintenance thing for them. So I don't know what they would want in there.
So Dan, are you thinking that your team could do the pavers too, or would we have an outside?
I'll
company do
ask
that?
them if they don't feel confident, then we can call a landscapers who I would think would do that.
Right.
The concrete, I definitely know they could do because we've done that before.
Right. Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions? So the motion is the price out constructing curves and concrete and the cost for pavers, and then bring that back to us, and then we can make a decision to move. Okay.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Excellent. All right. All right, on to the next person, Alderman Gould,
No report.
Alderman Erger.
No report.
All right, moving to department commission reports, we got Public Works. First, sorry, yeah, right.
Okay, the usual projects are on here. Russell, Deer Creek, so there's several things that have occurred since the last meeting. So we've met with Navigate, we did our walkthrough of the partial punch list along Russell, so MoDOT was there, as well as Gershenson and our staff. A few little areas that need to be tweaked as far as cleaning and things like that, but overall, anyone can use the sidewalk from Bremerton all the way to Brentwood Boulevard for the most part. That's all done on the north side. The Gershenson crews continue to work on the bridge over the creek near the Metro Garage. Missouri American Water, as you know, if you've driven through that area, they've got it down to single lane traffic, northbound and southbound Brentwood Boulevard. They have had since March 4th, and they will continue to do so for the next few weeks. The goal is to get it done before the April 6th destination playground ribbon cutting. If it isn't, then their goal is to remove the barricades and stuff so that we can actually turn and use all the lanes. So that answers most everything there. Manchester Road, MoDOT informed us that their subcontractor did the paver work. So I know you can see there's new black sand in that southeast corner. It looks good. I know that a couple different folks have measured it. It meets ADA. I know TWM is, they're the designers. So TWM will go out there and they'll measure it one last time, make sure that it conforms. The enhanced pedestrian improvements at mid-block, those signs, those are actually up. I know the one by our garage there at Public Works near Cecilia, I press the button, it flashes on both signs. Both directions should be able to see the signs. I didn't look at the other ones, but I know they said they've made improvements at several of them through that corridor. Litzinger Road, bike awareness, as you already mentioned, the sharrows, stencils, all that stuff's done. We'll just put it into rotation to repaint those on an annual basis like we do stop bars and other things. So that's done. 2818 Breckenridge Industrial Court, that's the former Bowser House. We're still in a holding pattern. FEMA has not approved the project just yet, so you can't advertise, for demolition. Street sweeper replacement. Again, FEMA hasn't approved purchase of a new one yet, so we're in the process. We've already spoken with Maplewood. Originally, I was targeting April 1st. They said that's when they want to use it, so we'll move it up a week. It'll be the week of March 25th. So the goal is to use it the week of March 25th. We'll clean the area around the park, all those streets, and then as many as we can get done throughout the rest of that week, give it back to Maplewood. They'll use it for a week or so. Then they said after that, we can have it again and then do the rest of the city. So we'll get with Michelle Boyer. We'll put something out on social media and other ways, whether it's next door, different ways to advertise that week of the 25th. And then Litzinger Road water main, the day after Christmas is when that water main blew up right there at the Leewen Trail and the bridge. Missouri American, I know, submitted for a permit. What they're ideally doing is upgrading an 8-inch water to a 12-inch water. And really the only thing that this main serves, it'll go underneath the creek, but it's for fire flow. So it helps supply volume of water on both sides of the creek. I'm not quite sure when they're going to start, but I know it's going to affect traffic. And I just told them whenever you have an idea of when you're actually going to start, we need to put some sort of messaging out there just to alert motorists and residents of impacts. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, on the Litzinger Road bike lanes, were you ever able to communicate with Rock Hill and
We did.
see,
Oh,
see
yeah.
if they wanted to?
They
add-
did not want us to mark it, even though we offered it. If that changes, I said, just let us know. We've got the stencil, we'll put it down, but then you would need to keep it refreshed for perpetuity, and I don't know that they really wanted to do that.
So Rock Hill doesn't like bicyclists?
I don't know. I just knew it's like, well, it looks odd because it
Yeah.
goes so far and then it stops, just that little segment between, I don't know what that side street is,
Bremerton and-
Pocahontas or,
Bremerton and
Remington.
and basically McKnight.
yeah.
So, all right. Well, I mean, you've had communication with them. Before we closed that out, I just wanted to make sure that,
Yep. They're aware of it, but,
okay.
easy enough to do. If they change their mind, we'll just grab the stencil and paint and do it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we don't have much going on. Nothing big opening. We're just kind of sitting around twiddling our thumbs. So the Memorial Park Bridge, they actually set both the bridges yesterday. Days are running by. They are going to pour the concrete decking, I believe, tomorrow. And then they're still currently scheduled to be open March 22nd. They hope to be done by March 20th. So if they can get done, that'd be next Wednesday. That'd be great. Then we'll open everything back up. The Brentwood Park restrooms, we did get enough parts to open up the men's, the women's, and one of the family restrooms last Friday. So we have that. We're waiting for the parts to get the other, like one of the sinks are still broken in the men's restroom and then one of the family restrooms. And so once we get that, hopefully in the next week, we'll get Merlot back out to complete those repairs. They are fairly confident everything will be done by April 1st. So we're in good shape there. And then we keep working on the Brentwood Park Destination Playground grand opening. As we kind of talked about, the playground really is the star, so we're not really going to plan a whole lot of things like we did for the park grand opening. We'll speeches, we'll do the ribbon cutting, we're going to do a scavenger hunt within the playground, a good way for kids to kind of go and figure out everything else. We have face painters, things like that. But really, the whole idea is to kind of let the playground be the showcase. In addition, SWT will be there talking about the master plan. So they'll kind of go through everything they talked about last week with you guys, kind of give the updates, and really get people focusing on that next open house later in April. So a couple other things that aren't on here that just came up today. We actually just got access to the eco counter. That's the counter that GRG put in Brentwood Park. We've been asking for it for a while, and they've been really nice, but it just took them a while to get to us. But since inception, we have had 74,375 counts of that counter. That is 207 people per day. So that's how many people are going through that. And if you know where that is, if you're coming underneath the tunnel and then turn left to go down the main trail, the Sycamore Trail, you actually don't cross it. And then if you come from the parking lot, you would cross if you go down the Sycamore Trail, but if you just stay at the pavilion, you're not going to cross it. So we're not capturing everyone either. Shockingly, the peak day in 23 was June 3rd, our grand opening, 1,500 people. And then so far this year, 712 people on February 25th. So we dove in, we got it today, and we dove into it for a little bit, and we'll be bringing more reports like this in the future because we find it really fascinating to see what it is. And we desperately wanted to have that access before the playground grand opening, so we're glad to have it. Then, as you guys know, you guys approved the new park pavilion fees, and then the board approved it. We already have 9 playground pavilion fee rentals in April, so it is already a popular spot. And we have 7 pavilion rentals because as we talk about the playground pavilion, we're like, well, what about weather? We're like, well, we have this other pavilion. Some people have decided to move over, and we also have the other people who are just renting the main pavilion to rent the main pavilion. But I think it's the 14th. We have a 1-year-old birthday party in the pavilion in the AM spot, a 3-year-old in the PM spot, and a 5-year-old in the pavilion. So all that's for the playground. We have a rental in May from a private school coming in on a field trip, coming into the playground. Chesterfield's already bringing their summer camp and renting the pavilion. So the good news is that people are excited, not only just here, but around the region for the playground. So
Awesome.
Hey, Eric, on the grand opening, so, you know, it's at 10 o'clock, so we're going to have this horde of kids like standing behind a fence, and then we're going to be giving these long-winded speeches and stuff, and they're
I hope not long-winded.
so they
but-
won't be able to play, and then we'll.
Yeah,
release.
the idea is to kind of have the conversation. And part of it is, you know the fencing's up, and we're not breaking the fencing down because obviously we don't want people in there Thursday, Friday. So
Right.
the Plocker who will be there, they'll come out and take some of the fence panels on the entrance by the tunnel side, and then we'll have to station someone there to make sure no one gets by, and then the others will have the tape and we'll do the cutting everything from there.
That's going to be a great video.
It will be. It will be. Our marketing person, Sophie's already talking about different videos. She wants to do interviews with kids that day, so we can put them up on a Vine on social media later on. So we're incredibly excited about what that day is going to be.
Okay. Any quick, Jeff?
Yeah, I know we're promoting this. We've seen several news stories with the grand opening being advertised. As far as managing traffic flow, since obviously Brazil is not going to be open, how are we going to let people know to go down Pendleton and?
Missouri American Water is expecting that to be open by April 6th. So.
Oh, really?
Yes. When they started, we were like, we need April 6th. They're 2 weeks, turning into 4 weeks, turning to 5 weeks. They're scheduled to be done that week. Every day I'm talking to Brian at Navigate like, hey, is our American Water doing okay? We will be messaging multiple things. We'll be messaging parking, we'll be messaging traffic flows, we'll be messaging a lot of things coming up. We wanted to give it at least another week to see where Missouri American Water was going. So we are hoping that park will be fully open. We'll be talking about some other things next week we're going to be talking about Russell as a traffic area or parking area and how we get people across Russell properly or safely. So we'll be talking to the police department about that. We actually have gotten fully permission to use Bi-State's parking lot that day.
Okay.
So we've worked at, Polo's
Good.
kind enough
I
to
mean,
talk to John Langa.
You're on top of it, and I could just see that coming. And
Yep. One of the things I don't think we mentioned, one of the things we want to talk about is parking along Brazil in the future. But for the event, parking is prohibited on the west side. East side, I'm always wrong. Yeah, the east side is prohibited on the east side already from Pendleton to Anna. So we're going to use temporary signage to continue that all the way down to Brentwood for that weekend. And then ultimately, I think Dan will be bringing back maybe a full ordinance to keep that full side parking free. Because what I don't want is have people coming to the park and just parking on both sides, Brazil, police
then
and
you've
fire.
got a very narrow street.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
So-
not going to be good.
So yeah, I know that's something I think Dan's working on in a future board meeting or public works meeting.
And do we have shared parking agreements with, where Ace is or any of that for the event? Or,
Yeah,
or-
we've reached out to
The Manchester Road CID, Arby's, Ace Hardware, we reached out to them. We're waiting for a response.
Okay.
Nooks too. I know we're going to reach out to Snooks as well. I know the medical building does not want us there.
I'm
So,
sure, yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I can understand that they maybe don't want to set a precedent for, hey, you can park here anytime. So I could understand why businesses might be sensitive to allowing it for that one day, but,
Yeah, and I think that, as you know, part of the excitement about the redevelopment plan was that parking lot basically right by the park. And so we've been talking internally about temporary parking locations we might be able to work on for a year or two, just until we figure out what's going to happen down there. And so we're talking about some of those things internally as well.
okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, planning and zoning? Planning? Development, excuse me.
Good evening. The February reports are included in, for February, we had 293 building permits and 623 inspections. Code enforcement had 31 new cases and 50 inspections. We received the updated structural reports for the Brentwood Forest condos. They've inspected 130 of the buildings. Half of those are critical need of structural repairs. So we're reviewing now all of those permits, and they will start the temporary shorings on Monday. So once they do the temporary shorings, we'd also have to review the final structural repairs required. So we will be doing some cross-training with some of our staff, so we all go in and crawl underneath the buildings. ARB is next week. We had 2 items on the agenda, but one has asked to postpone to the April 18th. They're looking at some revisions. The March 13th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting was canceled, so the text amendment regarding home occupations is moved to the April 10th. We received 2 applications for that meeting, and then we also got 2 more today. So we will try to get those on the agenda for the April 10th. H3 Studio is also looking to meet with the sustainability on March 25th, and then they'll proceed to the April 10th, P&Z and ARB on the 18th of April. That is for the architectural design guidelines and incorporating sustainability for this discussion at the Sustainability Commission into that. Then Board of Adjustment is also in 2 weeks on the 28th. And that was a continuation from the February meeting, and that is for a project at 9021 Pine Avenue. I am anticipating an application for the April Board of Adjustment meeting as well.
Hey, Whitney, I'll tell you one thing. I was out and about, and a resident walked over and went out of his way to express appreciation for Jeff. He said he went above and beyond on some kind of issues we've had for a long time on a certain street. So thank you to you and him, sir. We have a happy resident.
Oh, very nice. I will pass that along to him.
Any other comments? Any questions? Okay. Suscom?
Yeah, a couple quick things for Sustainability Commission. With the Ameren EV fleet analysis, we actually met yesterday with Ameren and their subcontractor. They gave us a quick overview, kind of went through a little bit of the things. The full report we won't get until next week. But what they did say is, according to the report, they think 12 out of the 17 police vehicles and 21 out of the 31 remainder of the fleet, they consider EV capable or good fits for electric vehicles. Another small thing that Dan and I were just talking about is they did their things on a 5-year plan. So those ones that don't meet the criteria on the 5-year, if it went 10 years, especially on the rest of the fleet, would that then make some of those more of a compatible for EV? Those are the things we'll kind of look at once we see the full report. We're going to have the Ameren representative, Kenneth, come to the Sustainability Commission meeting in March to kind of go over the report. And then if you guys are interested in having him come here in April, we can, or I can just bring the report. So I'll leave that up to you if you guys want Ameren here for that one or not. Lomo April, sorry, we've started the social media campaign. We have, we're passing out signs. I think we've already passed out, I think, a dozen already at this point. I forgot to bring them today. Told Alderman Weggie I would bring them. I said he was getting his, and then I completely forgot because of the weather. But we are passing them out, and we've gotten some nice feedback on social media, things like that. So both Sophie and Michelle have been kind of pushing that and working on the website and things like that. So lastly, the energy audits. Verigy, the company conducting the energy audits, was on site last week. Went through all the facilities, all the city facilities. They also have been working with utility companies to get all of our accurate energy usage data. So they're compiling all that, and hopefully we'll have something to us by the end of April. So we should be getting that report pretty soon. The good news is we're getting all this done prior to the budget season, so that will be discussions.
One question on the Lomo April signs. I don't remember us like approving the production of those signs. I know that last time we talked about it, seemed pretty expensive. Where were those produced? What budget was that produced out of? Was that
We took that out of the Sustainability Commission budget.
Sustainability Commission?
Yep.
Okay. And were you able to find a more economical?
We did. I don't have the
Okay.
exact price. We were able to find a better vendor. So
Okay.
we kept reaching out, and so
Good.
yeah. Thank you.
All right, we're going to the consent agenda. All we have is meeting minutes.
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, new business. Here we go.
All right, this is month one of Brentwood Days. A lot of Brentwood Day stuff coming. So the first thing is the carnival rides. As you guys know, we put out RFQ for carnival rides. A couple things we asked for in particular is similar to what we've done in the past, but we upped the rides. We asked for 13 rides, one inflatable, mainly because we heard about the lines as a way to combat lines. We asked for 4 spectacular rides, 5 major rides, and 4 kiddie rides with 1 inflatable. And then ultimately, we took a look at a lot of different companies. St. Louis area, reached out to all the parks directors, what they had. We talked to some of the churches like Mary Magdalene and some other ones about who they bring in for the carnivals. And we're able to find 10 separate carnival ride operators that we sent the RFQ to directly. And then received inquiries from about 5 of them, which was wonderful. The big question was, hey, what's your revenue history? Well, we don't have a revenue history. We've provided free carnival rides the entire time. So with that, we hope to get a couple more, but we did receive only the one response, which is from our vendor we've had for the past, I think, 13 years, who is American Banner Amusement. So they've been a good company. They've done a really nice job, so we're comfortable with them. The one thing that they did say, which is a little bit troubling, is they want a guarantee of $40,000 in gross income. I'm not, in talking to all the other companies, that's very similar to what they were going to be proposing, so I don't think that's unheard of. I think the issue was the lack of knowledge of what the revenue might be. American Banner does understand that, but they're worried about some smaller things. So, but the good news is whatever we bring in revenue, we would then reduce off our cost. And then a 20% sales over $40,000. So we start earning revenue over $40,000. So that also, when we talked to all the vendors, said, we want to have a little bit of flexibility of what we want to charge the Brentwood residents for the wristbands. So if we want to go a little bit cheaper, I think that, again, that was something like, okay, if we're going to do that, then we want to make sure we hit our guarantee. We're more worried about hitting a guarantee. So they're charging $1 per ticket, 24 for $20. Their rides are typically 3 to 5 tickets each. So I think we did the math. We tried to do the math quickly, and it was like 130 rides throughout the days would get you your $40,000. So I'm not overly concerned that we'll hit that. And again, we have money in the budget for carnival rides, so this will be a kind of a good first year to see how it goes. But they did say that you know, it'd be 9 to 13 rides depending on ride availability. So that's a little bit disappointing if they don't get to that full 13. I think we could have some leeway if it's going to be less than 13 to say, hey, if it's less than 13, then that guarantee comes down because that gives us less opportunity to earn revenue. So just waiting to make sure that you guys approve them first before we had that conversation. But I think that they'd be agreeable to that. If we don't hit the 13, then our guarantee comes down and we make a little bit more money. We can also work on inflatables from a different company ourselves if we want to do that. And as we work around the new site, I think we should be able to figure that in. But with all that being said, our recommendation is to move forward with American Banner Amusements contract.
Is there a wristband option as well? Are you aware?
Yeah, the wristband option, they just give us a price because we wanted to have that conversation. And so, you know, I think by next month, as we got this and want to make sure everyone approved it, then we'll come back with our recommendations on a resident rate prior to the event, resident rate, day of the event, and the non-resident rate of the event. And most likely, day of is just going to be the same fee. So really, the push would be to get residents, if we want to give them a deal, get them out to the community center early to get that, and then once you're on site, you're on site.
Okay.
Right.
Thoughts?
Out of curiosity, how was the 20% calculated? 20% of sales over 40,000. Was that just a number that they threw out there? And
Yeah,
are you comfortable with that? It just seems like if we're guaranteeing 40, maybe that should be 50-50. I don't know. You know,
I talked to a lot of different cities who do this, and that 20% over a guarantee is typical. Some companies have had a lot of, like, to be honest, I think Eureka and Arnold, those that have bigger carnivals, 3-day carnivals that have had a history, I think they get up to 25%. But that's typical from what I saw.
I mean, I think that since we've used them in the past, we know them, and they're willing to work with us on it, I would make a motion to recommend the public, or Eric's recommendation of American Banner Amusement Company.
second.
Any other comments or questions? All right, thanks, Eric, for working on this. So all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. And I would say, when that'll go to the big board, I would say let's not have that on the consent agenda for that, just so we make sure. This is a core tradition in this town, and we don't want it to go by too fast.
Write that down so I don't forget. All right, so secondarily is the drone shows. And if, you know, I kind of gave the information on there. Again, what we asked for based on things we saw, a show 16, 20 minutes length, complied with all FAA regulations. Did not have as creative numbers of knowing who to send it out to, and people found it. So we got 7 responses, which was great. As we went through the scores, 3 kind of rose to the top. Chicago Drone Show, Firefly, and Sky Elements. They're all very similar, where I'll be honest, Chicago Drone Show Chicago was below scores on all the other categories and really brought up with price. They were the cheapest vendor. And then Sky Elements and Firefly were very similar. I think Firefly had a little bit higher score because they're a little bit cheaper as well. And what we did when we took price, we took just the 1-year contract, which is what Sky Element asked for, or what we asked for in the RFQ. So we did receive those, as I said, and the big thing is the price that comes down to. Chicago was $18,000, Firefly was $36,000, and then Sky Element for 1 year is $44,000, but if you did a 3-year, it was $29,500. I think as you looked at that, I put some links. I don't know if you guys had some time to play around with those links, and I think what it comes down to is if you look at Sky and Firefly, all their stuff is moving and animated and visually really nice. And Chicago is to be honest, they're new. They've only done 25 shows, and it's very static. It's just, here's a flower, 30 seconds, then it switched out. So there wasn't a whole lot of excitement to their show. Doesn't mean that they won't get better. Doesn't mean that it being the first year, people might be incredibly impressed by it. But when you compare Firefly, Sky Element, and then Chicago, the two were obviously much better. And so with that, we, as we looked at everything, our recommendation would be with Sky Element, mainly because they kind of have they kind of have the market. They do about 70% of all shows. It's fully custom. Firefly, they have a mix. You get 6 custom, and then the rest you have to pick from their catalog. I'm sure they're all beautiful, so I don't think that's as big of a deal. But also then the other thing is that they don't charge a fee for cancellation, whereas the other two do charge a fee. Chicago was a 20% rescheduling fee, and then Firefly was they charge you travel costs again. So not as much as 20%, but it is still travel costs. You see what they've all done. They've all worked well. They've all had big clients. Firefly and Sky Elements have had the bigger clients. Chicago has done a lot of local Illinois municipalities. Firefly has done bigger cities across the country. They've done Holiday World. And then Sky Elements, like I said, they've kind of done everything. I did, the one fun one which we were not recommending, someone offered to break the world record, 1,502 drones for $247,000. Thought I wouldn't bring that, but I thought it was interesting that someone at least talked about that. So I'll be honest, this is one where we could go either way. I think the quality would be better with Sky Element. If we felt comfortable trying to push them, say, hey, 44 is just too much. It's our first year. If we like it, we're going to go right back out for a 3-year or 2-year renewals. Give us that 29.5. And if they say yes, maybe then that's worth it. If they say no, then we go to someone else. And then is 36 for Firefly too much? And is 18, something we feel comfortable doing? It's hard to say. So, like I said, our recommendation is to try to push Sky Element, see if we can get, unless you guys feel comfortable going a 3-year contract now. But if it's 1 year, maybe pushing them to say, hey, help us with this 1 year. If it's 1 year, we've had our carnival ride company for the last 20 years. We want the same person coming back year after year, and see if we can kind of push them on that way.
Yeah, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. I can't in good faith say 44,000 is the way to go. That's why I say Sky Element's the best company. That's why I struggle, because I wouldn't do the $44,000.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about some of the shows that Sky Elements has done and put out there, and some of the larger cities, bigger events, I could see why they were used. They're very good, very dynamic, but it's also very expensive. And do you know when we would need to make this decision?
They all talked, really wanting to have a decision in April. And so, that way they can start production and get everything in place. I mean, if it's the thought process of going to Sky Elements and really pushing them and then bringing this back next month to Public Works, I think I could do that.
Kind of what I'm thinking is one, I would want to make sure the full committee's here. It'd be nice to have the full committee to make this decision, because it's a big decision. We've talked about the reasons why we want to move away from fireworks, and I think those are all valid reasons. But to go from 18,000 to 40,000,
Yeah, like I said, I can't in good faith.
it's quite a
even say
stretch.
that. Yeah. The only way I would do Sky Elements if we could renegotiate their fee.
Yeah, I mean, I would be comfortable. I agree with you. At least what we're seeing, if this is, did all of these people provide you with these links, or were these ones that you all found?
The Sky Element and the other one, Firefly, provided us with links and examples, and then you could easily find their stuff on YouTube. Because I had those,
Right.
I reached out to Chicago. They gave me the one link. It wasn't even them. It looked like someone
It
else.
was just somebody from a
Yeah.
street view. It was pretty terrible, to be honest with you.
It was, and not that what Sky Drone is, they are a fireworks company that have branched out into drones. They branched out, their first year did it was 22, so they've only done it for 2 years. They said they do 12 shows a year, so that's why under 25 shows completely. It seems like they don't have a very large team. All those things are what scares me a little bit about them. Now, they could be great. They come out there and blow our socks off too, but just seeing what we even saw in the video and hearing what they have to say. Nice guy. He called me. He was one of the first people who called me and had a long conversation with him. I think they're trying to get into it. They just don't have, they're just not as dynamic as I keep saying.
Yeah, I mean, is there any way to go to Sky Elements and Firefly and ask them if there's flexibility in there, and then also ask Firefly if they've got a multi-year, what their costs would be for a multi-year?
Sure, I'm happy to do that.
I mean, because when I looked at the Firefly examples, like the Pompano Beach example and some of it, the Holiday World, I mean, those are pretty impressive. I mean,
They were.
very impressive for what we need for ours, right?
Yeah, and the interesting thing with them is, if you looked at this comparison, like their drones, they make their own drones, and then 2 of the other companies that we didn't recommend actually were
Right.
using Firefly's drones, and they have 3,600 lumens per drone.
Yeah, their lumens were
Yeah.
much better, yeah.
Not that 900. I mean, you can see them from miles away.
Yeah, well,
still.
yeah, we don't need, yeah.
Right. So, and you can get caught up in some of the
Right,
technology
right.
and lose the sight. But yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to talk to both of them and see what we can do.
Yeah, I would make, if you need a motion, I would make a motion to go back. But if it's just direction to go back and talk to them, and then bring it back to us in April.
I think direction's okay, right, Paul? Yeah.
Let's just see how much we can do, and then what's our option if drones just is gonna be too much? What's the other option?
I mean, one is, the Chicago Drone Show is still, I mean, they're within budget.
Yeah.
So I think we could definitely use them. The other option is we can go from 200 to like 150 and ask if we can get a 150 rate for drones. I mean, basically, as you saw,
I mean,
it's-
at that point, though, I think you start seeing economies of scale going up, but once you cut back, there's probably just a base that with travel and setup and,
I mean, I would, if we can't get them down, I would be in favor of going with Chicago and let's try it. I mean, this is kind of an experiment, and if it's terrible, then guess what? We're probably doing fireworks again,
Exactly.
We tried something,
Right.
And
And
I do think we can, because we're working on this right now, is put together, if we have a good dynamic show that can do a logo, I think we can sell that and make some of that back in a sponsorship. Because that would be, we talk about it, they all say, I mean, they all say, look, get a sponsor, we'll do a sponsor logo up there to start the show, so that it's a great way to kind of show off their company, and, I'm thinking somewhere 15,000 and 20,000, we can probably talk to someone about that. They all had that logo too in their presentations, the Brentwood logo. It's exciting. It's exciting to see what they can do.
Oh, no,
So I'll come back next month with some more information, and we can make a decision.
Good. You good with that, Sol? Okay.
Great.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thanks, Eric. All right, citizen comment?
No one online.
All right, seeing no new business, this committee is adjourned. Thank you all. Good luck.